Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. Great to have you with us on the program. Our favorite action-adventure couple, Travis Weld and Chesney Barrett, back in Robert Gallant's critically acclaimed novel, God's Domain. It's the final book in Robert's four-book suspense thriller series featuring the two characters. This time, Weld, leader of a clandestine government team, reaches out once more to environmental graduate student Chesney Barrett. He needs her skills to help rescue a brilliant archaeologist from guerrillas in the Yucatan. Robert is a prolific author, 5 mystery novels, putting to use his 40 years' experience in technology, as well as environmental studies, travel, and social involvement. Back with us on This Week in America to discuss God's Domain, Robert Gallant. Robert, always a pleasure. Great to have you back with us on the program.
Rick, I always enjoy chatting with you. You're a pleasure to talk with.
And you are an excellent author. And this is interesting. I said this is like the final in the 4-book suspense thriller series that you had. People are probably going, no, we want them to continue. Actually, it's the completion of the books that you have already written. I understand you're working on another book that will also feature these two.
Yes, definitely. And it's fun to be doing.
Well, yes, and it just, this is the fourth in the series. We've talked about the other books before. Well, quickly, what are the 3 books leading up to this in the series?
The first one is Satan's Stronghold, which takes place exclusively in Louisiana. The second one is Jericho's Trumpet, which also takes exclusively in Louisiana. The third one then begins to spread out a little bit. It's the Armageddon virus, and it starts off in Louisiana and then moves predominantly to Texas and Ohio. And then this one is the unique one because it jumps completely out of the United States and goes to Mexico and South America.
It is a fascinating book. It's called God's Domain. The 5th novel that Robert has written is called Rob the Vatican. This is an excellent book as well. Information available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You can link on directly to Robert's website, which is Robert Gallant, GALLANT.com. Books available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all around the country. Plenty of places to get information on the book. And talking about God's Domain, like you said, this takes us out of the country, takes us to the Yucatan. We've got an archaeologist, and we'll talk about him in a second. But why did you decide to write the book with this theme? What was it that interested you about, like, totally getting out of the country? This is something brand new for the two of them.
Yes, I have to say, I have always been fascinated by the ancient cultures that were in the Americas, and so much of them were destroyed by the Spanish and others who came in. But as archaeologists continue to explore them, they're finding out, wow, these civilizations were more advanced than we thought. And some of them, they had cities the size of the biggest ones in Europe or Asia. So I've always been fascinated by it. And once I came up with the plot for this, I said, oh, yeah, now I got an excuse to just dig in and do a lot of research.
And as research is one of the keys to Robert's books, the fact that you do all the research and the plausibility as you're reading, you're thinking this actually could happen. In terms of research, this again was a book that took a couple of years for you to actually do the research to write the book.
That's correct. I always, to me, the research is essential because it's so important that when the reader's done, they say, wow, I have learned things and gained insights to this area as a result of reading this, not just as an exciting thriller. And in this case, I think people will find out, whoa, these civilizations did have some unique capabilities. They had abilities that we didn't. One of the other things that's obvious also of these societies and civilizations, they were very obsessed with the role of God in their societies. And for some, that was beneficial because they had a good concept. For others, they sacrificed people, they conquered other countries, they punished people, which kind of sounds familiar with what we face today in the world of we're seeing the battle between this is my idea of what God is like, and if you don't like it, I'm going to either kill you or at least conquer you and straighten you out.
Robert Gallant, our guest on This Week in America. The new book we're talking about is God's Domain. And as he's talking, the books are much more than a good mystery, and they are, in fact, a good mystery, but so many layers, and that's one that you talk about. One of the underlying themes of this is nations and people sometimes use their personal concept of God to justify punishing and controlling other people, and that's at play in God's domain. And as you mentioned that, it has applications in the real world, what's going on today. So as you're reading the book, you're thinking, wow, times haven't really changed a whole lot because we're still, to an extent, doing that. And the characters are so well written and nuanced and layered. And Travis, of course, and Chesney. Travis is an interesting guy. You describe him as sort of operating in the twilight zone where good and battle evil. There's really no line there, is there, with him? Good or evil? It depends on the circumstances and what he needs to come out on top.
Right. And one of the features of this particular story is Chesney is going to finally find out why Travis Weld is the way he is, why he's so dedicated to destroying the bad people, and why he keeps his inner feelings locked almost in a steel vault, and only rarely can she work her way in and really understand what his feelings are. And she will find out now, why is he that way? And she will go to work on, can I find a way to penetrate through that wall and help him get out of that?
And Chesney has found over the years, and she was asked to help in the beginning with the first in the series, and now she's a regular. That's sort of his go-to person whenever he needs an operative, somebody to infiltrate. Impressed with her ability to do that, as well as to outmaneuver and outfight other people. And she's not really trained in this, but she's got a real knack for it, doesn't she? She does this, she adapts very well.
Yes, she has this unique ability to ingratiate herself to almost any group, good, bad, or indifferent, and be among them, gathering clues and figuring out who are the bad guys and what are they up to. And they don't have a clue she's doing that. So she is very valuable in her ability to do that. And she also has the ability that if she gets in an impossible situation, she can talk her way out of it or manipulate her way out of it. She just has this ability to think very fast on her feet. And that's one of the things I love about Chesney. She is good at what she does. And although she is very warm and she will go out of her way to protect the innocent, even if it puts her life at risk, when it's face to face with a bad guy, there is no hesitation and no mercy.
And you will find as you read about Chesney, she's got this really great intuition, doesn't she? She can read people. They're trying to portray themselves as something to her. She really cuts through that and pretty well knows from the beginning exactly who these people are.
And this becomes a part of this story because when Travis Weld comes in and says, hey, we need to rescue this young, brilliant archaeologist from these leftist guerrillas, she says, I'm ready to go do it. And after she does it, she realizes, well, this archaeologist, he is absolutely brilliant, but he is absolutely, I want to find out about these cultures and what they were like. He has no interest in find the treasures. I mean, if he finds treasures, he's going to turn them over to the government or his own good. But of course, there are people out there who say, ooh, he's very good at finding this stuff. Let's go take it away from him. So after she rescues him, she decides, I'm going to go with him on this because he's about to undertake an amazing quest, which he is going to hunt for the sacred site of Viracocha. And in all of the great traditions of South America and Mexico, Viracocha was the god who was over all gods and all peoples of the Americas. And he has found evidence that he had a sacred site somewhere. And I'm going to figure out how to find it. Now, to find it, he has to go through some things of he has to be able to interpret a group of sacred tablets, and then he has to figure out and decode a map that scatters, a symbolic map that scatters over 1,000 miles in order to find the three sentinels of light that supposedly point the way to where God's domain is. And that's tough enough of its own, but they also face the problem that the ally they're working with, he may choose to double cross them at some point and try to get everything. And then there is a very violent military commander, who has sensed, what if they find that, there's going to be a lot of treasure there, and I am going to get that treasure, and he will leave no survivors. So this is where Chesney really comes in. David wouldn't have a prayer, but Chesney has this ability to, maneuver around this guy who may want to double cross him, constantly be reworking him. He's not sure which side she would be on. And once again, it really falls on Chesney to protect David. And because she is so committed to, if a person is innocent and there's a bad person after them, I'm going to step in and help that innocent person out.
And she will do that at all cost, and she does that in the new book, God's Domain. It's the fourth in the series, featuring Travis Weld and Chesney Barrett, the book written by Robert Gallant. That's Gallant. His website is robertgallant.com. You can log on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, or you can go directly to Robert's website. Book available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You really need to get the entire series and follow this through. And fortunately, at some point, at a future date, we'll be able to get with Robert again and talk about the future escapades between with Travis and Chesney. In this is interesting, and it had to be so much fun to write because you've got the suspense, the mystery. They're trying to find this brilliant archaeologist. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of deciphering and decoding going on. You've got a whole lot of mysteries within a mystery, don't you?
Yes, I spent a tremendous amount of time researching these because I wanted them to be realistic. I mean, I didn't want this to be, oh, yeah, this is a made-up thing. I wanted, when people got through, they could say, that really could almost be true. And in this case, you could also say that one of the themes of this is sometimes when you go looking for something, you end up with something that was a lot worse than you anticipated it was going to be, and you have to deal with that.
Yeah, we're back to the layers that I talked about. Just when you think, okay, this is a fairly simple search and rescue type of thing, we're going to get David Phillips and bring him back. You've got all of these other subplots going on that are all fascinating in their own way. We've talked about this before, but I vision this as a movie. I mean, these people come alive as you're reading, and that doesn't always happen when you're reading novels. We talked about who you would like to cast if you had the opportunity to turn this series into possibly a motion picture, even a TV series, miniseries type of thing. With Chesney, who do you see her as?
Blake Lively is one that I think would be great. She's 5'10". She's a beautiful blonde. She's been in a number of movies, not in a dynamic leading role where you just really remember her. Of course, there's Jennifer Lawrence from The Hunger Games.
Oh, yeah, she'd be good.
She's same way. She's tall and very athletic. And Charlize Theron, which was in The Huntsman and Mad Max. So she knows how to take care of herself, too. And those appeal for Chesney. For Travis Weld, Matt Damon would be, to me, just
perfect
for him, because you got a cross between James Bond and Dirty Harry.
And he would be good. That is The couple that I see, and we talked about this before, so I guess it sort of influenced it as I'm reading the books, but Jennifer Lawrence and Matt Damon, I see them in the lead role here as Travis and Chesney. How much fun has this series been to write for you? And you've got the next one that you're working on, but at the end, in fact, at the end, it's not like, okay, I'm leaving these characters behind, I'm moving on. It's like, I'm going to continue with these characters. How much fun is that? It's almost like they're part of your life, aren't they?
Yes, because this idea of this thing taking place in South America, I had originally thought of this and said, okay, and I put some characters into it, and I actually did a pass on it, way back early on. And then after Chesney and Weld came along, I said, oh, yeah, they will make it so much better. This is perfect for Chesney. So I tossed the other characters and put Chesney in. So I've got to say, it's been a labor of love, both because I like Chesney and Travis Weld so much. There's a little bit of Chesney in me in the story I'm working on now. At one point, she says, well, something's wrong here because 2 + 2 + 2 don't add up to 6, and they always have to add up to 6. And Weld kind of says, what do you mean? And she said, well, if 2 + 2 + 2 doesn't add up to 6, then either one of the numbers is wrong or there's something going on, another number that you don't even know about. And that is her technique, why she's so good at being able to say, oh, something kind of strange here, and then sort it out.
It's interesting, and we've talked about this before, the influence that your wife had on your writing, the influence that we see in the character of Chesney, and your wife read a number of novels, particularly with strong female characters, and said, if you're going to have a female character, make her strong. And Chesney is exactly that. She also said that the writer paints pictures with words. And your writing is so vivid. I mean, it literally jumps off the stage in a visual manner where you can really see, and that's what makes it so easy to follow along because you can fully visualize. That really was impactful when she said that, because the words are so important. How often do you go back and change, maybe to punch up the word a little bit that may be a little bit more descriptive than what you originally had?
It will happen. And the book I'm working on now, I flowed it through to the end, but I haven't yet put in the ability for the reader to walk along beside the character. My feeling is the reader has to be walking side by side with the character, seeing what they're saying, feeling what they're feeling. And I was thinking, okay, that's going to be a major chore, because I've gotten the flow together now that I want in the story, but I've got to go do a fair amount of research yet, and then I've got to enable my reader to just walk along side by side with that character.
Robert Gallant, our guest on This Week in America. A couple minutes left in the program. I believe you've got a section, a little bit you'd like to read of Chesney that sort of, it's fascinating when you do that. You did it on the last program, the Armageddon virus, where you really, as you hear the words, they come alive, and this character does come alive. Do you have a section you'd like to read on Chesney from God's Domain?
Yes, because I think it almost says, okay, be prepared. This is Chesney and David tried to run down the dust-filled corridor with Mexican archaeologist Donatus supported between them. Chesney heard a grinding noise above them. The rock slabs were sliding. The ceiling would come crashing down on them. Her probing hand hit a wall in front of them. She wrapped her arms around Donatus from behind and plunged backward through the rapidly narrowing doorway. David landed on top of her. The massive door slammed shut. She heard the crescendo of ceiling slabs crashing down into the corridor behind the door. We have to get medical help for Donatus, David gasped. Donatus grasped David's hand. God's domain must remain undisturbed. Those who seek it will find only death, as I have today. On the altar in the temple are prophetic words. No man, having seen God's domain, can ever leave. He shall serve his God, and he shall die there. You must not be the instrument that awakens Viracocha, for when that happens, the eruption of blood choked off other words. His hand slumped to the floor. Donatus was dead.
That's powerful, and that's part of God's Domain. That's the fourth book in the series. Travis Weld, Chesney Barrett, written by our guest on This Week in America, Robert Gallant. 4 books in the series. The 5th book, as I mentioned, Rob the Vatican. This summer on vacation, are you going to Vatican City by any chance?
No.
Because I still think you could rob the Vatican. I read that book twice, and I think it's possible.
I think you're right. I'm betting that they haven't made the corrections that they need to make.
I'm just saying, in the library, you won't find that in fiction. That's
together. We might go over there together.
We actually should do that, and I could sort of like go with you and sort of go in there and be a distraction as you're actually committing the crime. The book, by the way, is not available in the fiction section at the bookstore. It's available in the how-to section. That's how accurate the book is. Rob the Vatican is just the 5th in the series. Robert, it has been a pleasure to have you with us on the program. We will stay in touch. We will have you back and talk about Travis and Chesney as they continue. Thank you so much for being with us on this series of programs. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to talk with you.
Rick, it's been an absolute pleasure to me, and I appreciate the opportunity. And if nothing else, I'm going to write another one, so I'll have an opportunity to talk to you again.
That's great. We will hold you to that. We've appreciated the opportunity. We will have Robert back in the program. Once again, Robert Gallant. The website is very simple, robertgallant.com. That's Gallant. You've got our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and a link on as well. And the series of books available all across the country. You can look at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and get information on the books and order them as well. You're listening to This Week in America. All the information on today's guest, Robert Gallant, available at the website, thisweekinamerica.us.